everyone, this is Peacock Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a quick debate over the CW verse and the latest crossover event, which will be titled Armageddon, and we're quickly going to assess it and ask whether the crossover is still worth getting excited for. Now, Armageddon will debut on the 16th of November 2021 and overall will be the 5th crossover event, I believe, following Invasion, Crisis on Earth X, Elseworlds, and Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now, what's different about this particular crossover is that the whole of the entire story will be shown only on the Flash series itself. Now, this is very surprising that normally these big crossover events are spread out all over the shows. Now, one of the major reasons for this is that it allows each individual show to get a huge boost and spike in ratings and viewership. We generally go over all of the shows, and the crossover events tend to be where the shows have a bit of an increase in terms of their overall ratings, and it's just a big opportunity to get more non-fans or fans who don't previously watch all of the shows potentially more interested in the shows going ahead. Now, as far as I know, there's no real particular reason why it's primarily being spread out just on the Flash itself. I don't know whether this is due to COVID restrictions. I know generally the majority of the shows are filmed around Canada and Vancouver, and it's never been an issue in the past where we included more characters within all of the Arrowverse, so I'm not particularly sure why it's all being put on just the Flash alone. Now, in terms of the main story arc itself, it centers around one of the most classic DC villains called Despero, who generally is this huge hulking purple alien and who is able to influence and command people through psychic powers. Now, I haven't read or I don't know any particular reference in terms of the overall comic book storyline, but I'm more familiar with the character who was adapted from the Brilliant Justice League animated series. I believe it was a two-parter, Hearts and Minds, and generally it was led by a Green Lantern storyline, and certainly what we saw from recent screenshots alone that he will primarily be in human form. But as is the case with most of these crossover events, I do assume that when we get to the last couple of episodes we will see far more of the more big hulking alien version of the character. Now, we did recently get a 2-minute plus trailer of the crossover, and many have rightly questioned why wasn't it shown in the recent DC fandom event. Now, that was particularly shown on Saturday the 16th of October, so we've only been 3 days since this trailer has been showcased online. So for me, there was no particular reason why you could have showcased it in the DC fandom event. You can check out my particular review of the DC fandom, where I outlined basically that there was so much content that could have easily been taken out when we're showcasing more about t-shirts and Superman hats. We could have taken those elements out of the event and put this trailer in there. Even if it wasn't fully complete at the time, there would have been nothing wrong with showing a quick 30-40 second teaser, leaving people anticipated more for when we get the 2-minute full trailer over, and there would have been nothing wrong with that, and again it would have been far more prominent for the overall event. Now, the trailer itself didn't really give too much away in terms of the overall plot outline. The most biggest reveal, I guess, was the fact that Barry has got 7 days or so to prevent Despero's plans. There's some big connection, some big reason why Despero has been looking for Flash for so many years or so. Again, we're not really too sure about that, and to be honest, this trailer wouldn't really spoil too much in terms of the overall plot or story. Now, what's also noticeable about this crossover event is the certain roster of characters involved. With all of these crossovers, it does include the majority of all the characters from all the individual shows, but that won't be the case this time around. It's going to be lacking some big names in terms of the Arrowverse itself. Now, the main roster of characters for this particular crossover will of course include the Flash. We will have Batwoman, we will have Brandon Routh coming back as Atom, Ray Palmer, which I suppose is very good for fans of the character from Legends of Tomorrow, and again, that was very disappointing to see how they exited that character from the show. So I suppose it's good for Brandon Routh to get some sort of victory lap with the character. We will see Cress Williams returning as Black Lightning. That show, of course, ended on its 4th season earlier this year. I'm not too sure why Black Lightning has been included this time when his overall story arc has been completed, but we'll wait and see how that plays out overall. Choi will be making an appearance as Alex Danvers, or her more superhero name Sentinel. We will have Maya Queen being played by Kat McNamara, and then we will have Ryan Choi, the current version of the Atom, or due to be the Atom from Legends. Now, I stopped watching Legends way back in season 5, and from what I've heard, he isn't actually the Atom yet in that show, but this will be him in the first time bearing the identity of the character. So in terms of the roster overall, it's very underwhelming, and I think many fans will be disappointed that we won't indeed be seeing Tyler Hoechlin's Superman or indeed Stargirl. Now for me, both Superman and Lois and Stargirl are currently the best CW superhero shows currently on air, so it really is a bit deflating that we won't be seeing those characters making an appearance. Again, this may be due to COVID restrictions or filming restrictions. Both of the shows are currently filming or airing at the moment. Superman and Lois, I know, has recently started its season 2, and Stargirl, of course, is in the latter stages of its season 2 as well. But we also won't be getting any Sarah Lance from Legends of Tomorrow, and we all know Sarah Lance is the most pivotal character of that show. She's the captain for many years now, so I'm not sure whether this was a budgetary thing, maybe it was just filming, but they can work around this. You know, we've had many instances throughout the whole of the Arrowverse where certain characters have made the odd or two cameo here or there, and they could have used certain scenes and transitioned them into the various other shows. They've been working these crossovers for many years now. They're used to it. They know the drill. They know how to adopt certain tactics to make sure everybody's included in all of the crossovers. So I'm not sure, again, why they couldn't have included all of these characters within the overall crossover event. So in terms of the original question of this video, from everything I'm seeing, am I excited with this crossover? Not particularly, and I think part of it's because we have really lacking in depth in terms of the storyline. By just seeing Despero in his human form, it doesn't really do anything special for me. There's nothing really distinctive about this character or his particular look. The fact that we are dealing with Barry fighting in a race against time to save his loved ones and his friends and companions, we've seen that type of storyline being done multiple times in the Flash show itself, so there's not really much in terms of a novelty. Now, we did get the appearance again of Tom Cavanagh as Harrison Wells. Again, we've seen this beat done multiple times, and it's quite funny how there was a big deal when both he and Carlos Valdez departed the show of the Flash in season 7, but they've still made multiple appearances since, so they haven't really left if you really think about it. They're still coming around making certain cameos, so there's nothing really too distinctive or special or stand out in terms of the overall concept or anything that I saw in the particular trailer itself. Now for me, the best crossover event in the entire Arrowverse was the Crisis on Earth X. That was for me the real peak of the Arrowverse. That's where I think the majority of the shows were very prominent. That was a real true massive significant crossover event that was really much of a standalone 4-episode arc, and that was for me at the time the Justice League movie that we didn't get sadly when we had Joss Whedon's version. And I just think every crossover since then has had diminishing returns. You know, the likes of the Elseworld and also the Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Elseworld one was really much more of a smaller scale, and I believe that was only 3 episodes itself, and the Crisis on Infinite Earths was a far more bigger, encompassing and ambitious effort, but at the same time it just became too much over convoluted, and it didn't really work out the story very well, and I think it kind of fell flat overall in terms of its overall story. Now the biggest effect of that crossover is that it did merge all of the Earths together, so again it does bring up the query why we can't have all of the current heroes within this crossover event itself. And I've always felt that any crossover event within the Arrowverse should really be over 2 years. I just think if you had a more of a biannual event of the crossovers, it just gives viewers just time to breathe and just take a break a bit from the crossover events before jumping back into them again, because this Arrowverse has been going on for a good 6 or 7 years now. So with the crossovers, as I mentioned before, this being the 5th one, it does eventually get fatiguing after a while, especially if the crossovers don't tend to be in the same quality level in terms of the storytelling. So that's why I've always felt this should be over 2 years. But in terms of this crossover event itself, I just feel there's nothing really special or distinctive about it. If we get a second initial trailer between now and when the movie or when the crossover originally debuts on November the 16th, then that may increase my overall enthusiasm overall. But in terms of everything I've seen so far, not really that excited. When it does air on the Flash, I will of course provide a review of it. I'll probably will do a premiere review, and I'll then do an overall view itself as opposed to reviewing each individual episode. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings on the next Arrowverse crossover event, the Armageddon, which will be primarily shown on the Flash TV series itself on November the 16th, 2021. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about this? Do you think that this crossover event is more really to support the Flash series itself, as that is primarily the most highest viewed, the most rated show within the Arrowverse? And is this more of a big swing to try and justify a 9th season or try and get this series itself to the 10th season? Why do you think the other shows are being ignored in terms of the crossover event? And will there be any lasting effects of the crossover event that will spill over into the overall shows itself? Surely it would have benefited to have a crossover event for Batwoman, as we all know hasn't started off with the best ratings overall. So again, I feel a crossover episode would have been much more of a jolt to help that show garner better ratings. But again, we'll wait and see how this plays out when the crossover initially debuts. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.